Stay there. All right, Deputy McNair, we're going to take our break at this time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the noon hour for lunch. Please remember my admonition to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case, have any contact with anybody else, or allow yourself to be contacted with regard to the case. We'll see you back here at 1:30. Mr. Shipp, you're excused until 1:30. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody else except the lawyers. All right, we'll stand in recess 1:30. Mr. Douglas? All right, good afternoon, counsel. All right, back on the record in the Simpson matter. Mr. Simpson is again present with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, and Mr. Bailey, people represented by Ms. Clark and Mr. Darden. Counsel, anything we need to discuss before we invite the jurors to rejoin us?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and we have our witness here. All right, let's have the jurors, please. All right, the records reflect we've now been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel, that Mr. Shipp is still on the witness stand. Mr. Shipp, you're reminded you're still under oath. Good afternoon, Mr. Darden.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
You may continue.
May I continue? Thank you.
Please. Thank you.
Mr. Shipp, when we left off, you were telling us about your friendship with the defendant, and you also told us about your acting career, correct?
That's correct.
Now, is there or was there a program called First and 10?
That's correct.
That's a television program?
Yes, it is.
Was that on Fox or?
HBO.
HBO, a cable program?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And what was the basic underlining story?
OJ was, his character was TD. I think he went from a football player to a coach to administration. I can't remember what the position was on the show.
And is that the show in which the defendant got you a role on?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you played a police officer?
Once again, yes, I did.
Okay. Let me show you a photograph marked Exhibit
14.
Barrett's a little slow today, Your Honor. Pay attention. Exhibit 14. Light it up. Can you move the glass? Could you just step down for a moment, Mr. Shipp? Okay. Is that a photograph of you and the defendant there?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and that's you smiling there?
Yes.
And his arms are around you?
Yes, they are.
Were you shooting a scene at that particular time?
No, we weren't.
What was going on in this photograph?
I remember, I think the director, Stan, made some kind of a joke. Something like, someone blew a line or something like that, and OJ, we thought it was funny. And that's when he hugged me.
The defendant hugged you, huh? And showing you what has been marked as Exhibit 15. That's the defendant there on the right side of the photograph. On your right side.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, he is.
Okay. And that's you in the middle?
That's me.
And who is the woman on the left side of the photograph?
That's my wife, Nina.
How long has she been your wife?
Almost 14 years, 13 and a half years.
Okay. And where was this photograph taken?
At the Simpson house on Rockingham.
Okay. And was there some type of affair or social occasion going on there?
I think it was his 40th birthday.
Were you invited to his 40th birthday party?
Yes, I was.
And so was your wife?
Yes, she was.
Thank you. Please take the witness stand. Okay. And you have other photographs with the defendant, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And you went to his wedding?
The reception part, not the private.
By the way, your wife has been present here in court throughout your testimony, is that correct?
That's correct.
She's here now?
Yes, she is.
You indicated on cross-examination yesterday, that is when Mr. Douglas was asking you questions, that the defendant's statement about having dreams came before the defendant asked you how long DNA takes to come back? Was that your testimony?
No, questions asking him if that's what it was. Overruled.
I'm sorry, Mr. Darden,
Okay.
could you repeat that again?
Okay. At some point, the defendant asked you, how long does it take DNA to come back, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And he also made a statement about having dreams about killing Nicole, is that correct?
That's correct.
Which came first, the DNA statement or the killing statement?
The DNA statement came
Okay.
first.
Now,
Your Honor, I think he misspoke when he said the killing statement.
Dream statement.
the dream about killing statement. Okay. That statement came second or first?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Okay. Which came first? The question about when DNA
Oh,
comes
the DNA
back?
came first. I'm sorry. Yeah, DNA.
And then at some point, the defendant made the comment about having some dreams about killing
That's
Nicole?
correct. Right.
Now, was there some conversation between those two statements?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
That's why I was
And-
confused earlier. I'm sorry.
Okay. And you didn't tell us about the conversation between those two statements, did you?
I was ordered not to.
Who ordered you not to?
Well, actually, you informed me that the judge, the judge, Ito, said not to talk about it.
Okay, so you weren't trying to mislead anyone.
Oh,
then.
no. No, I was not.
You were trying to comply with the court's
I
order.
was trying to comply with the court's order.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, just so you don't speculate as to what that is, there's something that transpired that I've determined is not relevant to this case, and I've ordered the witness not to testify about. It is not to have any impact upon your evaluation of this witness. Mr. Darden.
And to go back and discuss the 1989 incident briefly, Mr. Shipp, I believe you told Mr. Douglas today that that the defendant seemed to accept responsibility for the beating.
Yes, at one point he did.
Okay.
Mr. Fairlow. Mr. Darden.
Thank you, Your Honor. So up to some point, or at some point, the defendant accepted responsibility for the beating?
Yes, he did.
Did he continuously accept responsibility for the beating?
Can you be a little bit more exact? Did he
Okay, well, let me put it to you this way. You had a conversation with him that first week of January, correct?
Correct.
Did he immediately accept responsibility for the beating?
Not immediately, but after we had talked for a while, O.J. made a remark to me. He said that he didn't think that he was a batterer, and I explained to him. I said, "Hey, man, you hit her. She's got marks. You're a batterer." And that's when he kind of agreed and said, "You know, I guess you're right."
Okay. Did you ask the defendant to admit that publicly?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say?
Like I said, at first he was very resistant because he thought it was going to ruin his image. He thought that he would lose the Hertz, and he didn't want anything to do with it. And I explained to him that a lot of times if you come forth with women's groups and admit you have a problem, that people will welcome you more.
Okay. And what did he say he would do?
He said he'd think about it, and it sounded pretty good to him.
And did you have a conversation with him the next day or the day after that?
Yes, I did.
And what did the defendant say then?
He said he had received advice, I don't know who from, that that was not a good idea.
Answer will stand.
Oh,
Sir, I didn't hear the answer, Your Honor.
Answer was he didn't know who from, but it wasn't a good idea.
So the next day the defendant told you that this notion about accepting responsibility publicly was not a good idea?
right, that he wasn't going to do it.
You also told Mr. Douglas that you felt that you were treated like a servant by the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And what did you mean? What did you mean by that?
I said I was like a servant to him, like a lot of people, and meaning that I did not mind doing anything I did for O.J. because I idolized him. And I did it with open arms. And a lot of people were the same way.
So you did things for him.
Did a lot of things.
Whatever it was he asked of you, you did it.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. Now you told us yesterday that you ran vehicle license plates for him.
Overruled.
Is that correct?
Pardon me?
You told us yesterday that you ran license plates for the defendant?
For the defendant, that's correct.
Okay. And you contacted a detective, the detective on the '89 beating case on his behalf, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you do other things for the defendant? That is, other things in your official capacity as a police officer?
Yes, I did.
What kinds of other things?
What, you mean as a police officer or
Yes.
on my off-duty time?
Okay, well, as a peace officer.
As a police officer on duty, other than talking to the detective about signing off the report, no, not on duty.
Okay. Well, how about things that you did in your capacity as an off-duty police officer?
Yes, I did quite a bit.
Okay. And what types of things did you do there?
There was one time in particular when O.J. called me when Jason and some friends, I think when he was around 16 years old, had used some cocaine, and Jason had a seizure. And O.J. was very upset that this happened, and he wanted to find out who sold the cocaine to him and his friends. And he set up a meeting in the neighborhood with a bunch of the parents.
Okay. Anything else?
There was also another time when I was at home when I received a call from Ralph Bauer stating that Jason was...
Sustained.
Well, after you received this call from Ralph Bauer, did you do something?
Yeah, I went to O.J.'s house because Jason had apparently taken a bat to O.J.'s life-size statue in the backyard.
And you went to speak to Jason Simpson?
Yes, I did.
Okay. To counsel him?
Yes, I did.
And to go back to Monday, June 13th, that would be the Monday following the murders, is that correct?
That's correct.
The day following the murders?
That's correct.
And you told Mr. Douglas that you were in the television room or the TV room at Rockingham, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And there are 4 television sets there?
I think it's approximately 3 or 4.
And were all those television sets on while you
Yes,
were
they
there?
were.
Was there news footage and news commentary regarding the murders?
On every station.
Did you see the defendant on TV that day?
Yes, I did.
Was he in handcuffs at some
At
point?
one particular time, yes, he was.
And was he released?
Yes, he was.
Those handcuffs were taken off?
Yes, they were.
And this happened on Monday, June 13th, is that right?
That's correct.
And was the defendant present as you watched the 3 or 4 different television sets?
Yeah, he sat there with us.
Did you see film footage of the murder scene on television that day?
I do believe there was, at that particular time, I think they were focusing more to the fact that O.J. had been arrested, but they did flash back a little bit to the scene.
Okay. Did you see news footage of the bodies being taken away?
Yes, I did.
Was the defendant there while this news footage was on?
Yes, he was.
And while you were watching television in that room with the defendant, did he ever ask you who you thought killed Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman?
Never.
Did he ever express any sadness or sense of loss because Nicole was gone?
I didn't see it because of Nicole. No, I didn't.
You told Mr. Douglas that before the defendant told you about the dreams he'd had of killing Nicole, that he chuckled. Correct?
Yes, he did.
Did he really chuckle?
He chuckled.
And this was the same day that the bodies were removed.
Same day. That evening.
Same day that you and he saw photographs or film footage of the murder scene. Is that right?
That's correct.
And he chuckled.
Yes, he did.
You told Mr. Douglas that you did not go to football games with the defendant. Is that right?
That's correct.
Have you ever been to New York City?
Never.
Have you lived in Los Angeles your entire life, pretty much?
My entire life.
If you know, where was the defendant usually during football season?
Either in New York or doing some kind of a show, football show.
And what would he be doing in New York, if you knew?
Commentating.
Commentating on what?
Football games.
He was an NFL commentator. Is that right?
That's correct.
So while football games are being played during football season, he wasn't even in California, was he?
No, he wasn't, unless there was a game that he was doing in Los Angeles, a Raider game.
And did you go to college, Mr. Shipp?
Yes, I did.
Where'd you go?
I went 2 years at East LA Junior College, and then transferred over to USC.
USC, the same college the defendant went to. Huh?
That's correct.
You play football there?
I went off with the team.
Didn't make it?
Wasn't good enough.
You also told us that while employed as a police officer, you testified 50 to 60 times. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You also told us that you were given some training in how to appear in court. Is that right?
That's correct.
What was the most basic thing you were taught in the police academy with regard to how to testify?
Never tell a lie.
And have you attempted to follow that training today?
To this very day.
And are you telling us the truth today, Mr. Shipp?
The absolute truth.
Thank you, sir.
Recross?
Mr. Shipp, were you told in the academy that it was proper to mislead a pending investigation of murder charges?
As a police officer?
Correct.
Of course, yeah, I was told that.
That it's proper to mislead?
No, I mean, no, that you shouldn't, right.
Were you told in the academy that it was proper for a witness to an incident to lie to investigators who were investigating an incident?
No, I was not told to do that.
Now, you mentioned that you made a fool of yourself at Mr. Simpson's wedding reception, didn't
That's
you?
correct.
And you made a fool of yourself after you got drunk, didn't you?
Well, to me, I mean, no one, if there's nobody else that can actually, to me, I mean, I was slurring my words. That, to me, that's making a fool out of yourself. No one else said, hey, get this bum out of here.
Well, once you got drunk, didn't you then begin making more of a fool of yourself with your conduct?
As far as I was concerned.
You did.
If I was drunk and I was not able to speak like I would speak when I'm sober, and I know that I'm slurring, to me that's embarrassing.
Well, At Mr. Simpson's wedding reception, isn't it true that you got drunk and got into an argument and fight with one of the other guests that were there?
One of the guests?
Yes.
No, I did not. That's not what I meant by fool.
Now, you also said that when you got drunk this past year, you went over to Miss Randa's house at 1 o'clock in the morning to say, whoops, here I am.
Correct?
Did you think that you wanted, withdrawn, did you think that Miss Randa wanted to see you in all of your drunken glory at 1 o'clock in the morning outside of her home unannounced?
Well, I felt I'd done so many favors for OJ and all his friends, and I was close to Kathy, that it wouldn't, I mean, she would understand herself, okay, having a problem, which
So-
she had understood in so many times before.
So you wanted her to see you in all of your drunken glory?
Yes, I did.
And were you too drunk to call her on the telephone and say that you're coming over so you can see me in all of my drunken glory?
No, I was not.
Did you drive over there drunk?
Did I drive over? Yes, I did. I was drunk.
That wasn't very smart, was it?
I was bad.
Did you drive home after leaving her house 1 in the morning drunk?
Yes, I did.
That wasn't very smart either, was it?
No, I was not. I'm not proud of it. I told you I'm not perfect, Mr. Douglas.
Answer the question. Thank you, sir. Isn't it true, sir, that some of the police favors that you performed were performed for Mrs. Simpson, correct?
Yeah, quite a bit. That's true.
You ran a license plate for Mrs. Simpson's request, didn't you?
Also, yes, I did.
Not for Mr. Simpson, did you?
Yes, I did.
Didn't she want you to help her to remove some tenants out of an apartment that she owned in the South Bay?
Yes, she did.
And you then ran a license plate for her under those circumstances, didn't you?
That wasn't the only time I ran license. I ran license plates quite a bit when they had people coming over the house that they didn't know who was hanging around. Shipp, will you check this out, please? We got people driving around.
Were you violating any official rules or procedures of the Los Angeles Police Department by running a license plate for a personal friend?
Yes, I was.
Now, isn't it true, sir, that the Brown family was responsible for arranging for security at Nicole Brown Simpson's funeral?
I was contacted by Kathy originally, not the Browns.
The occasion that you could think of, the only occasion that you could think of in your 26-year friendship with Mr. Simpson when you and he ate together was on the set of Naked Gun 2½, correct?
That's one.
And that was a meal that took place during a casting break, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
And there were other members of the cast that were also sitting around enjoying the meal, wasn't there?
Our lunch was isolated. It was just he and I, and then there was two people that came to get some football signed, some alumni from USC that joined us. But originally it was just he and I.
Now, you mentioned that in 1989 you attempted to arrange for the charges against Mr. Simpson to be signed off on.
Yes,
correct?
I did.
In 1989, you had worked as an instructor at the academy, did
That's
you
correct.
not? And you were an instructor working and teaching domestic violence, did you not?
That's correct.
And you were aware in 1989 that whenever allegations of domestic abuse were filed and there was some independent corroboration, that the charges had to be brought formally, correct?
That's correct.
So you knew in 1989 that there was nothing that you could personally do to obviate the filing of charges, true?
That's what I believed.
Now, you said earlier to Mr. Darden that you had never asked Mr. Simpson for anything. Remember saying that?
That's correct.
You did ask on occasion to play tennis on his tennis court, true?
Okay, yes, that's true.
And when you were at his home in the dark with the blonde who wasn't your wife, who's here in court, you did ask that he bring you a bottle of wine, didn't you?
That's correct.
And did she drink the wine by herself?
No,
Or did you?
we drank it. OJ came out and stayed with us. because he thought she was real attractive.
Wasn't O.J. living his own life at the time that you came by unannounced and asked to use the
I didn't
jacuzzi?
come by, can I answer these questions? I didn't come by unannounced. I was there, see, he's forgetting, I was there we got there at 7 o'clock. Played
Why don't you let me
tennis.
ask the questions and you can
I'm
answer my
trying to
questions?
answer it.
Okay.
Sorry.
You first called Mr. Simpson and he was on the phone when you called, correct?
When I buzzed it, right.
And you asked Mr. Simpson to use the jacuzzi, correct?
Yes, I've never gotten in his jacuzzi.
And he asked you whether or not the jacuzzi was still on. Remember that?
I think you're correct.
And you informed him that the jacuzzi was on because you had been there earlier that day, true?
Earlier that day?
Correct.
No, I wasn't there earlier that day. I was playing tennis at 7 o'clock.
So he then allowed you and your blonde friend to use the jacuzzi.
That's
true?
correct.
And then about a half hour later you called him back.
That's correct.
And asked for the bottle of wine.
That's correct.
And it was sometime while you and this friend of yours was in the jacuzzi that you happened to see his daughter, Arnell Simpson.
That's correct.
Now, you suggested earlier that you had only seen this woman, Angela Spilker, but for 10 seconds on one occasion.
That's correct.
That's not true, is it, sir?
It's the gospel truth.
Object, Your Honor, this is beyond the redirect.
It's true.
If it is, Your Honor, I'd allow the court to allow me to reopen for this brief area, which might be beyond.
It's real tangential. It's real tangential.
May I, at sidebar, tell the court?
Please. All right, thank you, counsel.
You recalled when Mr. Simpson was present at his home on June 13th, correct?
That's correct.
And do you recall that he was sitting there in the company of his mother for most of that evening while he was watching television?
Actually, that's correct. She was sitting there.
And do you recall, in fact, that Mr. Simpson was very distraught during that time?
He was, in my opinion, Mr. Simpson, what I saw was anger. I saw anger at the news coverage that he was actually being accused of murdering Nicole and Ron. That's all I saw.
Well, it is true, is it not, that Mr. Simpson was distraught that week of June 13th when you saw him, correct?
Tuesday morning, I saw OJ before he was snuck out of the compound. I saw him that morning he was leaving. That's when, to me, that's when I saw him. He looked totally disheveled and distraught.
And it's your testimony that Mr. Simpson didn't show any signs of concern on June 13th when you were there in his house?
Not about Nicole.
Overruled. You can answer the question. Mr. Darden, briefly.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Great, thank you.
This witness be excused.
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to keep him on call.
All right. Mr. Shipp, I'm going to excuse you at this time, subject to further recall. You're ordered not to discuss your testimony with any other person other than the attorneys in the case. All right? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can the witness be similar admonished about the court's order as to any witnesses as well?
Yes, also don't watch any of the television coverage or news coverage regarding this case. All right? Thank you, sir. Mr. Darden, your next witness.
Your Honor, that's going to take a couple of moments. We may have some sidebar issues.
All right, let me ask the jurors to step back into the jury room then. Once you get your witness started, however. Record should reflect that the jury has withdrawn from the courtroom. Mr. Darden, who is your next witness?
The next witness will be Senior DA Investigator Mike Stevens. He is the investigator that retrieved certain items from Nicole Brown's safe deposit box. I don't know that counsel has ever seen the originals of the items contained therein, and I intend to introduce many of those items. And
All right, do you have those items here?
the other items.
All right, is this Mr. Stevens, I take it? For what purpose? To examine the contents there and show them to counsel?
Yeah, and to see if we can't reach some compromise on some of the items, which I doubt, but it might take some time.
Well, the only difference is I can wander into the back there, so why don't you pull it out and show it to counsel? Maybe if I stay here, it'll go quicker. I'm sorry?
Can this be cut off? This microphone.
Ah, I understand.
You see what I'm
All
saying,
right.
Your Honor?
Yes, I understand. All right, we will take a recess. Mr. Darden, Mr.
I don't mind if we just move someplace away from here. I don't understand.
Well, there's a lot of stuff. There are 10 or 12 items. Things like newspapers from 1989.
Why don't we step over there?
All right, step over here to the sidebar and Back on the record. All right, the record should reflect that the prosecuting attorney, Mr. Darden, has displayed to the court and defense counsel certain items of evidence that are, and it's your offer, Mr. Darden, that these came from a safe deposit box belonging to Nicole Brown Simpson.
That's correct, Your Honor. And they were seized by DA investigators pursuant to a search warrant on December 6, 1994. There were a number of items included in the safe deposit box, including a will dated in 1990.
A will?
The will.
1990, okay. Are you going to be offering that will?
No, Your Honor. I am, however, going to be offering 3 Polaroid photographs that have already been marked, rather. People's 9, 10, and 11. I'm also going to be offering some newspapers, old newspapers that were also found in the safe deposit box. They were all from the year 1989. All but one piece contains news stories regarding the beating that occurred on January 1, 1989, the fact that the L.A. City Attorney filed charges against the defendant, and I believe the plea. I'm sorry, they also announced the arraignment in these newspapers. I think these are relevant because they help to date the photographs contained within the safe deposit box. It appears to us that what Nicole Brown was doing was leaving a trail for us, some indication as to what happened back on January 1, 1989. I expect that as we proceed through the trial, others will step forward and may testify to having seen these specific photographs before, if not others that depict other bruises or injuries suffered by Nicole Brown on January 1, 1989.
Mr. Darden, what is the offer of proof that you're going to make to the court regarding Mr. Stevens' testimony regarding the proximity of those photos to the newspapers that you have there?
They're in the same safe deposit box, Your Honor.
All right.
Okay. There's another item. It is not dated. It's from the real estate section, apparently, from the L.A. Times. And this small article is entitled, O.J. Simpson Buys Laguna Beach Home. And I think this is relevant, or it will become relevant as time goes on, as we call Mr. Aguilera to the stand to testify to having seen the defendant strike Nicole Brown with an open hand at Victoria Beach.
But, all right. Is there any objection to any of these items?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just waiting for the bench.
All right.
Ooh, okay.
Are those the items that you're going to offer, Mr. Darden?
Well, we will be offering 3 letters seized from that same safe deposit box, and the defense has already stipulated that the defendant wrote those letters. But we will offer those as well.
All right.
I should indicate that there is a plane ticket to New York in Nicole Brown's name from 1979, from 1978, that's also contained in the safe deposit box. I don't intend to offer that.
Okay. All right, let me start at the top. Mr. Cochran, do you have any of these items that you have no objection to?
Yes, Your Honor. I have no objection to, number one, if he's not going to offer the will of September 30th, 1990, which is, pages. Eight pages plus a rider, we would offer the will. I think that's relevant. And I would not offer the traveler's indemnity insurance coverage because I don't think it's appropriate to have Mr. Simpson's assets publicly displayed. With regard to the newspapers, Your Honor, all the newspapers that relate to this particular incident of January 1st, 1989, I object. This is all hearsay. That doesn't help us at all. It's hearsay. It's some particular writer's version of of events at an arraignment or what was coming up, that's hearsay and should be kept out. There's no exception to that. With regard to these photographs, if I could have just a moment to talk to counsel. With regard to these three photographs, Mr. Darden made a representation to me that it's his belief these photographs all relate to the January 1st, '89. I told him that if there is going to be testimony, and he indicates Denise Brown would be the person who would perhaps so testify, if there's testimony in that regard, we perhaps will not object to them if they relate to that particular time. We don't need the newspapers for that particular thing, it seems to me. If we don't have an objection to the O.J. Simpson buys Laguna Beach home, is that it?
How about the 3 letters?
The 3 letters. I previously indicated to counsel that I would stipulate those letters were written by Mr. Simpson's handwriting.
All right.
Would the court care to hear more argument regarding these newspaper articles?
No.
With regard to the newspaper articles, my only concern really is the date, okay, are the dates. And we could simply redact a lot of the stuff from the newspaper, you know, including the articles about Mr. Simpson beating up Nicole or whatever. I mean, I don't have to have that. What I'm really interested in are the dates and perhaps the headlines just to establish those dates.
How do we go over hearsay objection? The newspaper hearsay objection.
You mean to the headline? It's not offered for the truth of the matter stated,
It's
Your Honor.
offered for the date, which
It's
is...
offered for the date.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is a newspaper. Let's grab the evidence code and see what it says about newspapers. I think it'll say they're admissible.
Yeah. All right.
Let's grab it.
Counsel, I don't really think that the date is in dispute. The court documents, if you ever intend on, are you ever going to offer a certified copy of the court documents from the West Los Angeles Municipal Court? Because that pretty much would speak for itself, don't you think?
I'll
And
let
since it would be a arguably certified copy, and I would have to take judicial notice of it.
A very good argument on this issue, Your Honor.
But I suggest you not listen to it, because I heard it.
I scare him.
Mr. Cochran's going to object before I even state the argument. But what is important here, Your Honor, is the fact that Nicole Brown apparently felt even back in 1990, even at the age of only 30 years old, that something bad was going to happen to her and that it was going to happen to her at the hands of the defendant. She prepared a will in 1990.
All right, well, there's been no objection to the will.
Okay.
The will is a holographic will and bears the date and signature of Nicole Brown Simpson.
Okay.
I assume somebody from her family will come in and say this is her handwriting.
That's true. She left some photographs. Okay.
All right, and I assume somebody, the offer of proof is that Denise Brown is going to come in and give us a date of those photographs.
Well, Denise Brown will come in and say that she saw these photographs.
All right. Ms. Brown, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Thank you. All
I
right.
would say that the newspaper articles go to the state of mind of Nicole Brown. She's leaving a trail for us. She's trying to date the photographs for us, and I think it's relevant. I think the date that the photographs were taken are relevant. The incident that they relate to are relevant. And I think that
agree.
these
I agree.
photographs help to establish, the newspapers help to establish that.
All right.
Denise Brown wasn't present at the time that the defendant beat up Nicole Brown in 1989.
But I assume that she'll be able to testify as to when she was shown those photographs and by whom. And the photographs pretty much speak for themselves. But what's relevant to the investigator's testimony is that on such and such a date at such and such a time, he served a search warrant, drilled the box, and this is what was in it. And then somebody else will have to lay the foundation for the photographs.
You're not going to let me put in my newspapers.
I'm going to
I'm not finished yet. I got the podium.
sustain the objection to the newspapers.
It's a very damaging evidence, Your Honor. Very poetic evidence, too.
That's what all the prosecutors say.
The hot property item, that remains?
There's no objection to it. It's relevant evidence. Although the Orange County Recorder Registrar's Office would probably have a certified copy of those documents as well.
That's in Orange County, confusing things are there these days. As for the will, I'm not going to offer the will. I'm going to offer the photographs, the O.J. Simpson Byers Laguna Beach home, the letters retrieved from the safe deposit box.
Or I assume that on cross-examination, Mr. Cochran will elicit from Detective Stevens that he did find some other matters.
Yes, and I want to listen, Your Honor, may I have a second, Your Honor? If I'm going to stipulate to the handwriting, I want to talk to Mr. Darden for just a moment, if I might.
Sure.
He has already stipulated to the handwriting, Your Honor, so that's clear.
Yes, he has.
Counsel's up here making statements. If you don't mind, let me just have my minute to respond. We are going to be offering this particular will. Counsel talks about, if the court pleases, their interpretation of the evidence. They're always talking about these trails. And I think that the court should be aware that the reason they don't want this will in is as follows. She says, this is my will.
Well, counsel, I've read
Well, but yeah, I'm responding. I know you've read it, but counsel has a penchant for speaking, so the press picks it up, and we shouldn't be precluded from responding. I don't think, Your Honor.
He taught me
have
that,
this-
Your
And
Mr. Darden, thank you. Counsel, I've read it, and if it's only for the public's, you have a copy of that document in your possession. The press probably has seen it already.
all I want to do is respond to what he said, Your Honor, if I might.
Briefly.
You wouldn't preclude me from that, would you?
Briefly.
All right. What I wanted to indicate is that this will sets forth a young lady who has tremendous assets, who basically apologizes to O.J. by saying, you have so much wealth, that's why I'm not leaving anything to you. Remember me from early in our relationship before I became so unhappy and so bitchy. So, I think that this, interpretations are such that she was the one who was unhappy, was talking about her state of mind, which isn't relevant, and then she has all these tremendous assets, including this condo that Mr. Simpson gave her free, so that I think the interpretation that they make is clearly wrong under the circumstances. So I just want an opportunity to respond to what they said.
Let me just ask a question. Has any last will and testament been filed by Nicole Brown Simpson state? I assume yes.
I believe yes, in Santa Monica, I believe.
Okay. So that's a court document. Does it have bear any resemblance to this document here?
I think it may, Your Honor. I'm not sure she says she was bitchy and unhappy in the one that was filed, but I think it bears some semblance.
Well, at this point, what you can do is ask Investigator Stevens if he found it there, mark it for identification purposes. You'll have to make an argument for its admissibility at some point in time. But while we have Investigator Stevens here, we might as well get
I'd like
it
to
out
be
of
able
the
to
way.
do that.
But it won't be shown to the jury until it's been found to be admissible and not displayed on the Elmo until such is determined.
I won't do like they do, Your Honor. No, I'll abide by the rules.
Okay. And as I understand it, Your Honor, this is not the last will and testament, the September 30, 1990 will. It is not. And the real question here is what made her so unhappy and bitchy, I think.
All
I
right.
think that's clear.
Thank you, counsel. I'm not the one who has to be convinced. So you can save the peripheral comments. All right, let's have the jury.
I do, however, intend to display the letters.
Yes, and there's been no objection to the letters. Because there's no objection. Matter reporter. How you doing?